Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got a game against the Utah Jazz tonight at home. It's an in-season tournament matchup between ourselves, the Lakers, and the Utah Jazz. I think that game starts at 7:30, but dang it if I remember. I honestly don't remember, so check for yourselves. I always get that wrong for some reason, but I got a lot of stuff in my head about the Utah Jazz that can help us. First of all, the Utah Jazz have lost 2 straight, both to the same team. Phoenix Suns came to town and played one in-season tournament game and another not regular season game back-to-back, both of which the Suns, of course, did win and scored a lot of points in doing so. The one that just passed went into double overtime, and Kevin Durant went for like almost 40 points in both of those games. So this is a Utah Jazz team that is not good defensively, but they are really good offensively. In fact, they are 11th in the offensive rating, and we need to take them very seriously from behind the arc, because I looked at their stats from the last several games, and I don't think they shot under 40% from behind the arc in any of those games. So, they had a game before they saw Phoenix in those 2 matchups where they played against the Portland Trail Blazers and knocked them off, went on a 16-0 run in the fourth quarter. So that's something to be concerned with. Even though they don't play defense, they certainly were able to keep the Blazers from scoring in that game. And, it's one of those situations where when you look at the Utah Jazz, you're going to start with looking at Lauri Markkanen, who is shooting the ball extremely well, of course, rebounding the ball very well. He had 17 boards in the last game. And you got to be very, very careful with this Utah team, because they had 27 offensive rebounds in the double overtime game that just passed. 27 of them. Now, in the first game, they had like 10. But in this one, they got a whole lot of second chance points and still lost, because that's how bad their defense is, and that's how great Kevin Durant was, along with Devin Booker. So for us, we're coming off a win against the Houston Rockets, where I felt like the free throw line was really the essential determining factor. We just were able to drive and get hit and get the calls. And that is something that we're going to have to try to continue on this process of. Bron and AD are game time decisions. But I expect for them to play, because it's a tournament game. They ain't missing no tournament games. And then from there, you also have Jalen Hood-Schifino, who's a game-time decision, even though we know he probably will not get suited up unless it's some blowout or something like that. And also, of course, we're missing Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent, who are going to be back, I guess, in a few weeks. Vanderbilt's already up and running, so maybe he'll be back in a few games, but we understand that Gabe Vincent will be evaluated in about a week and a half. So at this point, we're still undermanned. The Utah Jazz are only missing their center. I can't think of the guy's name they got from the Minnesota Timberwolves, one of the better shot blockers in the league. He is going to be out for a little while. So that's the only player they're missing. Everybody else on this team is there. And we, going up against a team that isn't depleted, haven't really fared well against teams that have their full team. We've usually, at this point, beaten teams that have been missing people. So this is going to be a challenge for us, but we're going to show up for the in-season tournament matchup. Now, my thing is, can we keep up with them shooting the ball? Because obviously you know that even though they don't play defense, we haven't really been able to shoot. Even with open shots, we've been missing them. And so that's really the thing. We shot 20% against the Houston Rockets, which from behind the arc, which is totally unacceptable. If you're trying to do that against the Utah Jazz, you can get blown out. Now, this is a home game, in-season tournament game. We'll have our black jerseys on. We'll have our in-season floor that I love so much. So it's going to be that nice ambiance. Utah's wearing white. And I think we'll benefit a great deal from having shot, 64% from behind the arc with that floor last time with those jerseys on. Maybe that'll carry over. We really did well with that. So a lot of times it's mind over matter for guys. And usually when they see something that they benefit from, or they feel good, you look good, feel good, play good, that kind of thing. I think that could be a real thing for the Lakers with this tournament ambiance. So yeah, man, we're undefeated in tournament play, but I think this might be our toughest challenge in the tournament, just because of how poorly we score and how well they score. They scored 146 points in the last game, 130 something points in the game before that, 117 the game before that. If you're going to be Utah, you had better score about 130 points, honestly. And so we're going to need AD and Bron to be as efficient as they were in the previous matchup, where both of them shot over 60%, if I'm not mistaken. Bron had a huge game with 37 points. AD had a big game as well, but also ended up unfortunately fouling out in that game before the game ended. We just so happened to be able to win it on a last-second heave that bricked from Dylan Brooks, which made us all very happy. However, we had some cold players, man. D'Angelo Russell was ice cold, 1 for 8 from behind the arc. Taurean Prince was hell for just hell on both sides of the floor. He was awful. 1 for 11 shooting the ball. But we did have some good things happen there. Cam Reddish, I want to make sure you get his name right. Cam Reddish was a plus 13, had 3 steals in that game. We had several other players that got 3 steals as well. Good Austin Reeves showed up, hit some big shots from way behind the arc to help us seal the victory. He finally found his efficiency and his clutch gene in this last game. So hopefully this can be steps up for him, because we're going to need him tonight as well as everybody else to play better. So Christian Wood was a 0 for 4. That was real bad. Him 0 for gophering was a problem. But we still found a way to win that basketball game by continuing to be aggressive, and the refs gave us the calls, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis, of course, hauled us to victory with Austin Reeves being great as well. So what we need is to continue to see good Cam Reddish, man. He's leading the league in steals, damn near 3 a game, and he is really helping us when his shot is falling. He is basically somebody that can really, really contribute at a high level in that starting lineup. I want us to remove Taurean Prince from the starting lineup. We've talked about that, but I don't think coach is going to make that decision tonight. Probably should pull the plug on him early if he's cold, because he's just, it is what it is. But Rui Hachimura has been stepping up. I think we could be due for Rui Hachimura to have a breakout game if we give him the minutes, because he's been surging in the right direction, scoring the ball, helping us defensively and things of that nature. Jackson Hayes, we want to see more out of Jackson Hayes, continuing to help us with backup minutes up against a Utah Jazz team that does have some size, even though they're missing their center Kessler. Remember his name now. He will be out. But they got some pretty big guys, man. John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks is now with the Utah Jazz, and he's been having a really good season. You know, he's played well. He's seamless in that offense, and given the fact that they score so much and that's one of his strengths, he just contributes to that quite a bit. You got to watch out, of course, for, again, Lauri Markkanen, big-time problem. THT, ex-Laker off the bench. He's had like 24 points or something like that in the last game. Definitely having a solid season for himself, continuing to develop. We know what his ceiling is. We also know his shot selection is one of the worst we've ever seen. But we know he's athletic. We know he can dunk the ball. We know he has some sick metrics with long arms and big hands that make it so he's very athletic. He can defend. So we need to be very careful with THT, because he's only getting better. Chris Dunn is a player that they have on their bench that you need to be very aware of, who can make things happen for them defensively. He's also shot the ball a little better as his career has progressed. It's good to see him back in the league after a long absence from the NBA. He's found a home in Utah and slots in very well as a backup point guard for them. Simone Fontecchio is a player that they have on their bench as well that we need to be aware of. Always kills us. Him and Luka Samanic, I don't know how to say it correctly, but I wish he was a Laker, because he's somebody who can really play well. They just haven't used him in rotation. They've kind of shortened their rotation to about 9 players, even though they're very deep of a team. But nevertheless, that's what it is. Samovic is not getting Luka Samanic. I can't seem to say his name right. He's not getting any minutes, but if he does get on the floor, expect for him to have a high-level game against the Lakers, because that's what he and Fontecchio do. We know that. Both of them dudes, they're better than advertised. Jordan Clarkson having a fantastic season right now for the Utah Jazz. He's starting, I think, at the point guard or shooting guard position. I'm not sure, probably shooting guard. And he's been balling. Like career year type stuff, trying to make a name maybe for an all-star bid the way he's been playing. Now, their team is only 4-9, so I don't know if they're doing enough winning for that. But ultimately, Jordan Clarkson is really not a part of the problem by any stretch of the imagination on the offensive end. And, of course, old Lakers, we're going to have to take seriously, because they love beating their old team. Him and THT, obviously, are going to have it out for us tonight, returning to LA for a tournament game. So with the tournament being in place, you know that heightens the level of intensity for these teams. They lost their last tournament game. They know we're undefeated. They know we played poorly in the last couple games, that they've done their homework, so they should come in with a lot of confidence that they can compete against us and possibly run us out the gym if we shoot as bad as we did in that last one, despite getting the win when we did. So this is a situation where, you know, I continue to harp on the player that I made a full 360 on. If you go back to my old videos before the draft, I could not stand Keontae George in the range that he was in. I was telling us to pass on him. He's just a microwave scorer, undersized, really, really talented, but he's probably going to be at his best J.R. Smith. Wrong. When I actually saw him drafted and then saw him in the summer league, what he did was somebody who took all of the criticism about his name and worked on every aspect of weakness on his game and showed us exactly how high his ceiling goes, basically on both sides of the floor. This is somebody who I think is now, as I said, I didn't like him. Now I love him. I think Keontae George is probably fourth or fifth best player from the draft this year. And he's not quite in the role that I think can showcase his skills, but he's already getting double-digit assists just about every game he's played in at big minutes. So expect for him to, like Skylar Mays from the Portland Trailblazers, step in and get big assists despite being somebody you don't know. And understand, he is a microwave scorer. He does light it up. He is somebody who I think someday may score 60, 70 points. He is that kind of guy. Devin Booker-like type of guy. Naturally skilled and very intent on attacking his weaknesses. Keontae George is somebody I take very seriously on this basketball team. He, I believe, is playing the starting point guard, but I know what he can do. He is somebody who's going to fill up the box score if you let him. He could have an off night too. I think he was like 2 for 12 in the last game, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a rookie, a true rookie. It does have some flaws, but the mindset to be great is in that young fella, and I see it, and he's going to do great things. And so the 360 that I've made on him, or the 180 I've made on him, has never been more of a 180. I was super low on him. Now I'm super high on him. And he's proven to me why being super high on him is the way to go. He's one of the best young rookies in the game. And we're going to have to respect his playmaking ability and, of course, his scoring ability. So that's what I want to say. Keontae George is one of the most deadly players on that floor. And it's going to be him and Jordan Clarkson getting out in the fast break, trying to attack us, along with Lauri Markkanen stretching the floor. Collins stretching the floor. Respects Collins' three-point shot, especially that corner one. He's been hitting his whole career for Atlanta. And that's somebody that I know can go to work as well. Keontae George from the corner and shooting the ball and all that stuff. He's got handles, mid-range, three-point shot, lay the ball up, passing to others. You got to take him seriously, man. And the guys around him are efficient shooters and scorers, so it makes his assist ability even more increasing. He's on the best team for his circumstance, being with that type of talent. It's unfortunate that they're not able to play Taylor Hendricks. I hated the fact that Taylor Hendricks was drafted to the Utah Jazz, and then after they drafted him, they picked up Collins. So you're never going to see Taylor Hendricks. But one of the things that they complained about is, I was reading up on the Utah Jazz, is that they didn't like how their defense was played. They don't like their defense. They don't realize that they have one of the best defenders coming out of the draft on their team that they're not playing. Period. If they put Taylor Hendricks on the floor, they're not going to have as many defensive problems. He was the 7th overall pick in the draft. Could have went 5th, although I'm sure Detroit is very happy with Thompson. But I thought he was going to go 5th or 6th to Orlando. But he went to the Utah and just doesn't have the role. I would love for him to get the hell out of there. But it's not going to happen. They're going to sit on him, hatch him, and he could potentially be one of the best rookies in the game as well. But just like any other rookie, you got to be in the right situation. You can't just simply be good. You got to have a team that has the way to showcase you, and unfortunately, Taylor Hendricks does not have that. But if for some reason he does get on the floor, do understand that the ceiling can go very high on both sides of the floor. He can score, dunk, obviously defend, as I've said. These are his strengths. He's a quintessential small forward, power forward type of wing in this league that should be able to defend players smaller and bigger than him when he fully develops. Laker fan, Taylor Hendricks. So that's what I want to say. He's one of my favorite young players. Unfortunately, you're just never going to see him. You're just not going to see him. And so that's the problem there. But that's the strength of the depth of the Utah Jazz. They also got Bryce Sensabaugh, one of the best young scorers out there, another huge body that they can send at you, who's a microwave scorer of the highest order. So I thought Utah drafted as well as anybody, but of course they got everybody playing in front of these players, so it doesn't matter. They're just sitting there rotting away in their rookie season or getting experience necessary to be ready in a couple seasons, however you want to look at it. I say rotting away. Given how productive this rookie class actually is, those players should be elsewhere. So that's what I believe. That's what I know. But you ain't gonna see them, so I shouldn't get that as much conversation as I do. Who you probably are gonna see is Luka Samovic, Fontecchio, THT, Jordan Clarkson, Collins, Chris Dunn, Keontae George, and of course Lauri Markkanen, who is their star, who was an all-star last year. High-level talent, 17 rebounds in the last game. Definitely killed it on the offensive glass, and so did the rest of their team. Respect Chris Dunn's rebounding ability. He's a little sneaky dude that's going to come in there and get boards. Keontae George as well. They all have rebounding guards. Jordan Clarkson, we know him. We know what he can do. He's going to likely want to light it up against us. So if we don't come ready to score tonight and ready to defend tonight, we're going to lose our first tournament game and our first home game, and we don't want that. We have not lost at home. We've won 4 out of our last 5 basketball games, and to be honest with you, I don't think we played all that great in any of them games. In fact, the last 2, I felt that if we would have played that way against most teams, we would have lost. We've been finding ways to win games when we don't play well, and I think that is a magnificent sign, but it's also something that can end up biting you in the backside just the same. You can play poorly and find ways to win, but eventually you're going to play poorly and find a loss, and that is what we do not want tonight. With everything being as it is in this tournament, this team that we're going up against only has 4 wins, 4-9. We are 8-6, 2 games above 500. I legitimately don't think we are our record. I think half of the games we won, we probably could have lost, and a few of the games we lost, we could have won. But we're not playing as well as we need to, and we are fortunate to be in the position we're in. So the Lakers, I want to see them bounce back. Obviously, that's not a reflection of how AD and Bron have been playing, because they're both playing like MVP candidates, carrying us to where we are. But guys like Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, Christian Wood, they're going to have to earn their keep, man. They're not playing well right now, and it's been unfortunate for us. Obviously, Austin Reeves having a bounce-back game, but we're just talking about overall throughout the course of the season. They are why I believe we're not as good as we need to be. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't other factors in the situation. Of course, we're waiting for Vando to come back. We've been hurt. A lot of our guys have been out, and we're getting healthier, so that really helps. But we're going to need our role players to improve. Just play better, man. I don't know what that really entails for each and every individual, but we got to get a better performance out of people like Taurean Prince and Christian Wood if we're going to beat the Utah Jazz that can score 140, 150 points on you in regulation. So that's really what it is. They're going to give up 140, but you got to hit the shots they give you. And that's what it really comes down to. If you're missing open shots, if you're not scoring on them, then of course they're going to go down the other end, and their strength is to score. So by default, you could lose. But they are a bad defensive team because they don't play Taylor Hendricks and because they don't have Walker Kessler. So that's really what it is. 2 of their best defensive players are just not available to them, and that's why they're not a very good defensive team. But their offense is always on point. Collins and Markkanen and Clarkson are always looking to score. Keontae George is always going to be able to score. Samovic and Fontecchio are always able to score. They just got scorers all up and down the lineup that can really, really attack you. And may I not forget Ochai Agbaji, who is also a high-level rookie that a lot of people don't believe in, but I do. He can shoot the ball, man. So respect Ochai Agbaji's ceiling, which is a 3-point shooter and somebody who can get out in the open court, do some good things. I'm still learning his game. Don't know it as well as I'd like to, but he's also somebody that they have in their starting lineup that can light it up from behind the arc. So be aware of Ochai Agbaji, also a high-level Utah scorer. So I like this Utah team. I do, man. I think they're one of the deepest teams in the league. They just don't use the whole team. And as a result, they only have 4 wins. I keep telling these guys, even though I like their bench, I'm not down on the Fontecchios and the Samovic. I'm not down on Chris Dunn or that. Those are good players. But I think the guys behind them might be a little more talented than them. And so if they were to go down with certain injuries, you could see the Utah Jazz improve. And that's just the God's honest truth. Just like a lot of teams in this league who are relying upon vets, when they have high-level, all-star level rookies on their bench. Vets. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just kind of how Utah's rolling. I'm not mad at that. Hopefully that works in our favor. They have good vets, though. Unlike some of these teams that are doing that, I think Utah's vets are very good. So, I don't think Utah is their record, man. They just got to figure out how they can win some of these games that they're in. But hopefully tonight is not one of those nights. because at the end of the day, you can score 150 points, but if you give up 155, you lost. And that's kind of what's been going on with the Utah Jazz. But you must score against them. They're not going to score less than 115 points just about in any night they're in. So if you have a cold night, you likely lost against the Utah Jazz. So that's really where we're at, man. We know this is one of the most lethal scoring teams in basketball. They were that last year, and they only added more reinforcements that they don't use to their team. So the possibilities are endless. Keontae George is a real point guard. That was my problem with him. I thought he wasn't. Complete opposite, man. That dude is getting assists every night. He probably leads rookies in assists. He may even lead the league in assists, to be honest with you, the way that he's been getting assists over the last 3 games. And I don't think he's headed downward. His trajectory is up, up, up. So given the fact that he was projected to go to the Lakers, he didn't fall to us. We never had an opportunity at Keontae. But I know he's going to want to show us who he is tonight on our home floor. I expect him to have a very good game, along with THT and Jordan Clarkson, who obviously are old Lakers who are going to want to kill us just because of that. So hopefully THT starts thinking he is a Laker and gives us the ball. You know what I mean? THT tends to do stuff you're like, what the hell? But he can also go really, really high with a triple-double and 50 points if he really wants to. So his ceiling and his floor are very far apart from one another, and I know what THT can do with the ball in his hands. So yeah, man, that's what I got to say, man. I'm very, very excited about this tournament game. I'm always excited about the tournament game. I know Bron and AD are excited about tournament games as well. Hopefully they'll feel good tonight because we've been getting the best from Bron, and AD looked really good in the last game. So hopefully that means he's healing from that hip pull or whatever that injury is. And one step closer to getting our Vando back. We really need the Vandalorian back on this basketball team, man. We are not as good defensively as we could possibly be. If we could slap him next to Cam and AD, we will be one of the best teams out there defensively. I promise you that. The way that Cam's been stealing the ball, the way that AD just plays defense effortlessly, whether he's got his offense going or not, you bring the Vandalorian in here to guard some of these little guys, and we're going to be able to do things 3 levels defensively, for the paint, mid-range, and on the perimeter. So that's why we need the Vando back soon as possible. I don't care nothing about spacing. I know people's like, well, what about the spacing? I'm not sending Taurean Prince out there to stink it up just so I can have somebody out there who can space the floor who ain't going to hit the damn shot anyway. Eventually, they're going to understand he's not hitting the shot and leave him out there. So we need to be very careful about that. Taurean Prince, the idea of him spacing the floor is much greater than him actually doing so. The man ain't hitting the damn thing. Get him out of that damn starting lineup, please. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.